The 2025 legislative session kicked off yesterday as Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs delivered her State of the State address. Tonight, we get reaction to the governor's address from Republican legislative leaders, along with GOP priorities for the new session. We welcome Senate President Pro Tem T.J. Shope and House Speaker Pro Tem Neil Carter. Good to have you both here. Mr. Carter, good to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
All right, T.J., let's start with you here. You gained some members here. You got some numbers here as opposed to last go-around. What do you want to see?
Well, I think there's many things that we'd like to see. We have a Prop 123 proposal that we would like to put in. We've backfilled some of those dollars, so we don't really need the measure for what we needed it maybe 10 years ago for, but we would like to see teacher salaries increased, and we're going to be working on that hopefully sooner rather than later this session. So I think it could be one of the very first major things that you see come out of our legislative process. And I think from my perspective, we're going to be talking a lot of water. We're going to be talking a lot about border security. We're going to be talking about the things that we feel led us to have some of those expanded majorities this year.
Over in the House, what do you want to see?
Well, the House is the closest to the people, as you know. It's the way we designed it, and your members are out listening to you, and your Republican majority is hearing what Arizonans want. We've come up with a majority plan. Broadly, you might refer to it as the 3 Ps. We are looking to preserve the American dream, to promote public safety, and also to preserve individual liberties. And that's what we're hearing when we knock on doors, for example, when we're out and about talking to constituents. What we're hearing is that costs are too high, and it's cutting against the American dream. We're hearing that people are worried about safety from their front door to the border, so public safety is big. And we're also hearing that people want to enjoy their individual liberties. They want to enjoy medical freedom, they want to enjoy school choice, and of course, all the other freedoms that as Americans we expect.
Let's get back to Prop 123, because I think I'm the only person who calls it Prop 123. Everyone calls it Prop 123. Whatever.
Is it like A, B, C?
Yeah,
1, 2,
I got you.
Whatever.
Anyway, it sounds like you guys want to see every bit of this money going to teachers. Sounds like the governor wants to see things spread around. Do you want to see Prop 123 referred alone, or do you tie it with something?
No, I think that this legislature, at least from the Senate perspective, and I'm sure that we'll have these conversations with our House counterparts, believe that this should be something that goes to the ballot, stands on its own. We have the conversation about seeing teacher salaries tied to the measure. As I mentioned, over the last few years, when we've had ongoing funds, and we do continuously, we have focused those monies to making sure that the original intent of Prop 123 was taken care of from existing funds. So we look at it as a type of brand new measure going forward to go ahead and go to these teacher salaries, which we hear about all the time.
Straight teacher salary or anything? I mean, would you tie ESAs to something like this?
Well, you know that in Arizona, the Constitution requires a single subject rule. And that's really important and a wonderful thing that we enjoy in Arizona, because we're not like the federal government. We don't have these long bills that have everything in them in the kitchen sink. We are literally kept to one subject. And when we talk about Proposition 123, we're going to see something that exclusively deals with education. What many of us would like to see is to make sure that it actually goes to the classroom. For example, it goes to teacher pay, and it goes to something that parents are asking for their children, and not necessarily for some kind of waste or fraud or abuse.
You mentioned border security. Sticking with you, Prop 314, I guess all eyes are on the Supreme Court in Texas and whether or not this. Is the legislature ready with the funding should the Supreme Court come back and say, thumbs up?
The legislature has a track record of doing what's right and doing the funding and listening to the people. For example, 2 years ago, the governor's proposed budget would have eliminated all monies for the border strike force. So we're dealing with a governor who is pivoting now in this election cycle to talk about the border, but what we see is that she literally removed border. There was containers on the border that were creating barriers. She's on record for removing those, for attempting to cancel the funding that we put into place. And thankfully, your Republican majority has preserved that funding in the last budgets.
And yet that was the governor then. This is a whole different ballgame with 3-4. I mean, this has
Governor
changed.
Hobbs 2.0.
Yeah, well, it was a top priority, apparently,
Right.
according to the State of the State address. Be that as it may, are you ready if this is a go?
Well, I think, first of all, what we do have on our side is time. 63% of Arizonans did decide that they wanted to follow what the Texas model is on immigration and border security. We have what we feel is potentially up to a year. Now, do we have monies that can go to to securing the border? Absolutely. It was probably the #1 priority that we campaigned on. It's something that we will fund should the Supreme Court act any sooner than that. But we actually feel that we're probably about a year out.
And you know, it's important to note that Proposition 314 was submitted to the governor as a bill for her signature, and she vetoed it. So we managed to get it done anyway by submitting it to the people.
I want to get back to water, go back to you and water, because you mentioned it, and water was a pretty divisive topic in a variety of ways. I mean, the governor says if you don't do something regarding groundwater management and regulation, she's going to do it for you. She did it in the past. She's going to do it again, whether it's Gila Bend or Southeast Arizona. Is it time for the legislature to step up on this?
The legislature has put forward different solutions, whether it's the ag to urban legislation that I sponsored last year that was vetoed, which science has shown that over the last 70 years, we use the same amount of water today with 7.5 million people as we did when we only had 1 million people in this state in the 1950s. When you transform irrigated ag lands like we have in Pinal County, where I'm from, into development, you use less water. So these are the things we're trying to accomplish. Now, when the governor does say that she's going to act without the legislature, personally, I believe that leads directly to litigation because we don't believe that the governor has the authority to do those things. We can negotiate it out. We had a bipartisan solution on those issues last year. They were vetoed. The governor says she likes working bipartisanly, but oftentimes it doesn't work out that way.
Last point on this, because we're running out of time. Governor says she's protecting groundwater and you're not. Respond, please.
Okay, I would say two things. The first thing is that the legislature handed her a bill, we passed a bill that would have made it illegal for companies like Fondamonte to take water out of the ground, and she vetoed it. And the second thing is that as the senator alluded to, the legislature also sent her a bill that would allow for conversions of farmland to houses, which saves water because it uses less water. And that's a fact that the senator had alluded to, and she vetoed that as well. So we are ready, willing, and able to work with the governor, very excited by what she said, but her Arizona promise to me seems a little bit long on promise and a little bit short on results.
All right, we'll stop it right there. Gentlemen, good to have you both here.
You bet.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining us.
Thank you.
You bet.